Your mother has been attacking other residents. I'm afraid you will have to take her away. She can no longer stay in the home. We were dumbstruck. I specifically remember asking that she could stay either till she died or until she needed a nursing home. Apparently not. What if her behavior got worse? Would we find her another home? Would they take her? Will we have to section her? The thoughts horrified me. Where would this end? Over the previous years, it had become clear that my mother could no longer live on her own. We had got her to agree to having a cleaning agency come once a week. She was fine for a while when the cleaners were women in their 40s. Then the agency sent younger women in their 20s. Mum was not happy. She would loiter in the entrance to the flats and ambush them. I don't need you today, go away. A few months later, we had an urgent call to come to her. Smoke was seeping out under her front door into the corridor. With sirens wailing, the fire brigade arrived. Firemen in breathing apparatus entered Mum's flat. A fireman found the grill arm burning a piece of toast. He opened all the windows. It wasn't me, my mother insisted. The fireman came in to check the windows. It must have been something to do with health and safety. The smoke must have come from the flat below. The fact that the floors were made of concrete wasn't a consideration. There was never any reasoning with her. Her neighbors met us in the corridor and told us we had to do something about our mother. It was, after all, the third time the fire brigade had been called. As a family, we went looking for a care home. We visited 3, discounting 2 of them. One because it was badly done up like a boutique hotel. The other was a much extended private house that wouldn't have worked. The room was in the attic, with a toilet built into the corner, and on one wall, the emergency fire exit. It didn't feel safe for her. In the end, we chose one with plenty of lounge spaces, with almost luxury furniture, and as a result, luxury fees. It was like a 5-star hotel. What sold it to us was that she could have an end room that was next to a snug with a little balcony. It was almost like a small flat. Now all we had to do was convince her she needed to go into a home. I'm bored. I'm fed up with housework. Why don't you go into a home where all that'll be done by other people? That idea got her attention, and she agreed to visit the home we had chosen. The room was on the top floor with windows looking out over the hills. She loved it. She spotted a plane taking off from a small private aerodrome. Oh, look, I can watch planes. She'd spent 2 very happy years towards the end of the Second World War working in a canteen on an airbase. Her fondness for planes mirrored her reported fondness for a certain New Zealand pilot. We came away happy that she liked the home and had agreed to move in. Later that day, I casually asked, "What do you think you might take to the home, Mum?" "Well, the dining room table, obviously." I was confused and a little wary. "Mum, you do realize you only have 1 bedroom?" "What? I can't take the dining room table? I'm not going." So we were back to the drawing board. We had to mount another strategy. I forget what approach we took, but I did get her to agree to move in again. We moved her in. We all took her for walks to the airfield where you could sit in a cafe, have tea and cake, and watch local parachutists floating down to the airfield. We had many visits sitting with her in the home, which ended with her following us to the locked front door and trying to come out with us. She would stand with tears in her eyes. not an easy time. And then we were summoned to the home, to a meeting with the manager and the care supervisor. I'm afraid you'll have to take your mother away. She can no longer stay in the home. In desperation, we contacted the local social work team for the elderly. A new social worker visited Mum several times in the home and watched her interact with the staff and the residents. The social worker said, I know exactly the kind of person your mother is and exactly the kind of care that she needs. This home is not giving it to her. That was a relief. Nightmares of sectioning her receded. The home was at fault, not our mother. But we still had to find another home. My twin brother and I called at an older red brick home, possibly originally a council home. The manager greeted us. Do you want a drink? Well, a cup of tea would be nice. No, I mean an alcoholic drink. Are you allowed drinks in a care home? Come with me, she said. And she took us into an open room off the main corridor with a proper bar down one side with beers, Guinness and wines. My brother laughed out loud. How'd you get away with this? Oh, it's open on Saturdays for socials with residents and their families. I'll have a Guinness then, I said. My brother took a beer. We sat down on some sofas. The cook and the housekeeper came out from the kitchen and joined us, and we chatted for 2 hours. I'm ready to move in, joked my brother. Show me my room. What I really liked was 1 or 2 residents came and said hello and went off, all very natural and relaxed. Then what really settled it for me was the house cat wandered in, rubbed himself against our legs and wandered back out again. It wasn't luxurious. It hadn't been refurbished by an interior decorator or even an interior designer. Her room wasn't en suite, but it felt like a home. And it was clear that the staff made it at home. We got Mum moved. The cook told us later that she sat with Mum for most of the first day as my mum wailed. At one point, the cook asked her, do you wail a lot, Margaret? And my mum stopped wailing, turned to the cook and said, oh yes, and then went back to wailing for the rest of the day. As time passed, it was clear she didn't really know who we were. I visited once and she said, oh, how nice of you to come. I knew I could have been anybody. One time I got to show her the garden. My mum liked nothing better than sunning herself in a garden. I took her down to a seat below a large Scots pine tree. We sat in silence, relaxing. Then we went back in. The last time I saw her, I did her nails and put cream on her hands and feet. When I turned round from putting things away, she'd disappeared. I found a member of staff. I've lost her. She'll be sitting in the armchair by the kitchen where she can see what's going on. And she was sitting there. So I said goodbye. This time she didn't come with me to the door. At her funeral, 5 staff members came, including the manager with her 5-week-old baby. I was so moved to have babies there. The cook approached me. It's going to be very quiet without her. You always knew Margaret was about. She'd wail at least once a day. The manager said, throughout all her time with us, she would come into the office, sit in a chair and watch us work. Every so often she'd say, of course, I may not stay much longer. I may have to go home. I cried in gratitude for the staff in that home who knew how to treat a prima donna. Out of the goodness of their hearts, they made sure that she felt at home, right up until the night she died peacefully in her sleep.
Oh, David, thank you very much. That was wonderful. I have to say, and I'm reflecting the views of several people in the room, and that is, what's the address of this nursing home? And can you send it to my children, please?
If you want to hear an interesting anecdote, it's called Bemerton Lodge, and it's 5 doors down from the house that the Skripals lived in Salisbury, who were poisoned by the Russians. Literally, that is true. The God's own truth.
Wow. Wow.
Isn't that mad? The first time we went to the end of the road had police and tape, and we couldn't work out what was going on. Why are they taping off an old people's home?
Well, Margaret was quite a force.
She sure was.
I doubt the nerve agent would have had much impact on her.